As a software maker, subscriptions are your lifeline, providing the predictable income you need to nurture and develop your business and offer continuous customer support. But occasionally, customers will bring their subscriptions to a halt. The accumulative effect of these cancellations is what we call churn. In the beginning, churn may seem like no big deal. You're acquiring customers faster than you lose them, and churn is practically unnoticeable. But these customers are significant. This is because in most cases, acquiring new customers is much harder than keeping the ones you have on board. This becomes even more apparent as your business matures, and customer churn completely flattens out your growth or causes it to decline. Hi, I'm Z from the Freemius team, and if this is your first time with us, feel free to subscribe for more in-depth business strategies and growth hacks, followed by first-hand experience from some of the best makers in our industry.
People already purchase your product. They already thought you could help them. So getting that 20% more in your revenue is much easier than trying to get 20% more customers.
This is Amandine, founder of Retention Flows, a churn reduction tool she developed by examining customer retention across several businesses. Initially, Amandine only developed retention flows to combat her own customer churn. After focusing most of her efforts on customer acquisition for several years, she realized customer cancellation was building up, but had no idea why.
I was spending so much time trying to acquire customers, but when they canceled, they just push a button and cancel and they just disappear.
The first challenge in fighting customer churn is understanding why your product is being abandoned. The reason this is so difficult is that the only people who can really help you understand this are the ones who've decided to cancel. This is Matt, co-creator of GiveWP, a donation gateway with over $250 million in transactions in 8 years. Matt and his team have dedicated lots of time and effort to understanding their customers and the causes of churn.
If we just say, they're leaving us, so let's just give them their money and take off, we lose all of that insight.
Matt insists that every refund is an opportunity for you to improve by getting those customers to point out what the problem is.
The only reason why I know why people leave Give is because I've asked people a ton. I ask them all the time. Our whole team is asking and reaching out. The only way that you know the answer to any of that is by being dogmatic about reaching out to them.
Amandine shares a similar experience. On her journey to reduce customer churn, she started by triggering an automated feedback request by email asking the customer why they canceled their subscription.
But the response rate was very, very low, less than 5%.
The emails proved useless. That's when she came up with a solution that would later become Retention Flows.
So I quickly just coded some little pop-up to ask them, can you tell me what I can do more or what I could have done better? And I realized that not only it reduced my churn by more than 15%, just asking the question, but it also opened a discussion.
By asking customers what she could have done to better serve them, Amandine's retention had already improved by 15%. Now she knew she was onto something.
We're not just taking their money and giving them something off the shelf that might not fit them. We're really listening to them to help them build their business or to help them make their life better. And I think that's very important feeling that make people want to stay on board, that make people want to be part of the company as a valued member.
Sometimes the biggest challenge in reaching out to churning customers is emotional. You know you're supposed to care and value them, but what you care more about is that they continue using your product. If this is the case, just remind yourself that you have no idea what's causing them to cancel.
We'll reach out to someone, or reach out again, we'll reach out again, and then we finally get a response and say, unfortunately, this person has passed away. That's why the credit card wasn't working.
And the reasons don't even have to be that extreme. They could simply be shutting down their business or cutting costs, or they could be replacing the infrastructure you integrate with. Something might be broken or functioning poorly compared to your competitors. In the end, it's their money and it's their choice. Anytime you get all like, "What is wrong with you?" that's a turnoff. On the other hand, if you ask if there's anything you can do to help, you're quite likely to benefit from that whether they stay on board or not. For Amandine, the gold was in the feedback she got in response.
I left an open box text area and they started telling me a little bit more about their experience with my plugin and the issues they had, or just what they wish the plugin had, new features. And that was really great for me to help me develop the plugin in a way that fit my customer better and know my customer better.
By doing this, Amandine was able to leverage these cancellation attempts as an opportunity to grow and improve. Then, one day, as she canceled one of her personal subscriptions, she noticed something.
When I decided to cancel one of my subscription with Adobe Kindle, and when I clicked the button, they offered me a reduced price to stay at, I think it was 99 cents for 3 months to stay subscribed. And I was like, why not? I might still use it. So I said, yes, I accept the offer. And to that date, I'm still subscribed.
This was when Amandine decided to expand her mechanism to offer unsatisfied customers special retention deals.
It might be an offer, monetary offer, if they say it's too expensive, or it might be pausing the subscription for a couple of months if they think they don't use it straight away, or changing them plan because they think they need more feature or less feature. So if you have a rejection rate of 70%, it means that your offer is not attractive enough.
By implementing these practices, Amandine had already reduced her churn rate significantly. But the biggest churn reducing practice was still to be revealed. As she collected and monitored the feedback, one specific reason for cancellation kept repeating itself.
There is different reasons why a customer might want to cancel their subscription. In my case, I sell plugins, and one of the biggest reasons I got at the beginning was I'm not using it anymore. But I think it's not deep enough. I need to understand why they're not using it. So I started asking a little bit more questions about it. And one of the problems was the onboarding, because they didn't get the value from the plugin because there was not enough hand-holding and nurturing to explain them where the feature were, how to get the best of the service, and how it can really help their business and help them implement it so they see results.
Amandine realized that roughly 1/3 of her churn consisted of people who simply didn't realize her product could help them. This time, it wasn't about how to approach users once they decided to cancel, but how to approach all users from the get-go.
I think the most powerful way that you can do something about your churn is to prevent it in the first place.
This is where we should outline two primary ways to combat churn. What we've covered up until now is what we will call a reactive approach, approaching customers as they leave. The second is the preventive approach.
So many people think only about that point of renewal, and they forget that there's a whole 12 months that happen before that point in which you have influence over your customers' feelings about your product.
A preventive approach to churn is about setting up processes to support and retain your customers, improving customer success and satisfaction throughout their experience. And this may sound like a huge ambiguous task, but for both Matt and Amandine, it actually boils down to a few critical touch points.
As soon as they make a purchase, they get an automated email, of course, that gives them the necessary transactional information. And then there's a follow-up email that says, if you need help in any way, feel free to respond to this email.
The first 2 months are extremely important to make sure that you purchase our product. Thank you so much. We're still here with you.
Reaching out to customers and guiding them through their adoption period is a practice basically any business should implement. Because while the purchase might be where you hit your primary goal, for the customer it's only where the journey begins. If you gain trust with users in this initial phase, they're far more likely to trust you down the line if anything goes wrong. The whole idea is to establish a seller-buyer relationship.
We'll call this de-anonymizing our users, because so many of your users are installing your plugin without ever even knowing. You have no contact with them at all.
Additional touchpoints critical to customer success include providing customer support, collecting user feedback, and following up on it by offering product updates. You can also supply useful content to help customers get as much value for money as possible. However, the main challenge with these is scalability, calculating the time you'll need to spend building the relationship and which parts of the process can be automated.
I love the whole idea of letting automation do what it's best at, which is volume. Get it out there, get as many emails to your folks as you feel is reasonable, with the intent of saying, all you need to do is reply to this email and we'll get in touch and help you.
As a rule of thumb, any communication you initiate can be automated. Whether it's onboarding emails, feedback requests, feature announcements, educational content, or even customer achievement notifications, anything coming from you can either be mass communicated or automated to go out to specific customers based on conditions. However, when a customer reaches out to you, even if it's just a reply to an automated message you sent them, you need to pick up and reply in person.
We find a lot of ROI in giving those people an opportunity to talk to our team directly. They may have already done the content, they may have already done the video, and they still don't quite feel like they have success yet. But I guarantee you, if they've done those things and then they talk to your team, they for sure will feel like they've been taken care of, and then they will have more success with your product.
Human involvement in churn reduction is more resource intensive for your business, but the ROI can also be easily calculated. When Stellar WP's churn hit a certain volume, it made sense for Matt to hire a dedicated employee.
When the failed renewal started to be up to maybe $10,000 a month, we were like, actually, if we just spent money on an employee to help getting somebody just focused on recovering failed payments, started to increase our renewal rates substantially. And that employee spend actually was easily recovered, more than recovered, in just getting the failed payments recovered.
Let's take it from the top and sum up the process by running through all the practices we've mentioned to make them as clear as possible. First, set up a cancellation flow. Be helpful in your messaging and don't ask what's wrong. Ask what you can do to help. And collect and document the cancellation reasons. Second, make special offers to retain customers who cancel. Base the offers on your customers' detected pains. Measure the response rate to these offers and identify which offers effectively keep them on board. Third, set up an effective onboarding process. Ensure new customers get the value of your product. Establish relationships with customers by offering them help during and after onboarding. Fourth, provide great customer support. Listen to feedback and detect unexpected friction points that cause churn. Fifth, automate cancellation flows, onboarding processes, and retention emails, but make sure that if customers reply, a human follows up with them, not a robot. And six, measure your churn. Set goals to reduce it and measure the ROI on the actions you take. And remember that churn reduction processes are time-consuming, but might be worth more than you spent. Thank you so much for joining us. And since you've watched all the way to the end of this video, consider subscribing for more tips and best practices by clicking down here. See you in the next video.